Mr. Chairman, Sayyid Khurshid Ahmad Shah Sahib, Mr. Vice Chancellor, Dr. Hamida Khodo, distinguished delegates, and ladies and gentlemen. I must, in the first instance, before I make my submissions, which will be brief, recognize two gentlemen who are in this hall. One is Mr. Justice Rana Bhagwan Das, who, as we all know, could have become the Chief Justice of Pakistan, but he opted not to do that himself. The other gentleman is Dr. Mubarak Ali, sitting here. He's, I believe, traveled from up north to Karachi and is a historian, an objective historian, in a time and in a place when objective history cannot be written, and there are so many constraints and threats to those who write it. Dr. Mubarak Ali. Personally, speaking for myself, I'm very grateful to the Vice Chancellor, Sheikh Saab, for having asked me and given me the privilege of addressing over the inaugural session of this conference. I am also in deep awe of the delegates here who've come from all over the world, and I'm particularly grateful and happy and pleased about the fact that there has been such a large interest in the academia and the research scholars of India, and the experts who've come from India are more than welcome for this seminar. As I said, I'm in deep awe because I have been, a lot of things I might say may be inaccurate, but I will dare to say some of those things which have interested me enormously. Since early 1970s, I had been visiting Larkana. When Shaheed Zulfiqar Ali Bhutto formed his Pakistan People's Party, twice before he became the Prime Minister and before the December elections, I had the occasion to visit Larkana to call upon or at being summoned by the then chairman of the Pakistan People's Party. Every time I went to Larkana, and the first time I had to take a Tonga ride to Mohenjo-daro. I had gone to Larkana by train. I took an entire afternoon and evening off, and the train returning to Kotri and Sakhar was at night, so I had time after the meeting. And I wandered around Mohenjo-daro. From there onwards, I have been a humble, very, very part-time student of Mohenjo-daro, not a learned one, not one who has found all the secrets or any of the secrets of Mohenjo-daro, but I used to marvel in my many visits to Mohenjo-daro at several aspects of the site. Obviously, the more prominent one are the well laid out streets and the sewerage system, which showed how they believed in cleanliness, and at a time when our cities, be that Lahore, Karachi, Layalpur, Rawalpindi, Peshawar, Quetta, have turned into garbage heaps. They are huge mountains of garbage that is uncollected and thrown away at random. To discover that some 4 millennia ago, there was a town that was planned with an excellent sewage system. I was impressed by the sheer civility that mound displayed and was witness to and testified to its occupants long gone, I noticed in my own humble way, I was perplexed by the fact that there was this civilization with a hinterland obviously of agriculture because there was a river flowing by it, and cities can grow only if there is a hinterland of rural agrarian communities around it, which yield the surplus to the cities. I was perplexed by the fact that there was no palace, no huge, big mansion which would testify to the fact that there was a king who could expropriate through his armies and his administration the surplus of the citizen of the area or of the state, like contemporary civilization in Egypt showed, the pyramids, the temples, huge temples and huge monuments. There is none of that in Mohenjo-daro. There is one chief's house, which I'm talking about to people who know it like the back of their hand, and I'm myself, there is a word I would have liked to contribute to the English dictionary, which is a person is illiterate, a person is innocent, and another one may be ignorant. But I am an innocent, really. So speaking before this gathering is a torment for me, but I found no big king's palace. I also found that the granary was located proximate to the temple mound. So the priests were actually probably distributing the grain, and the baths are also there. And the baths had to be a ritual, for a ritual, because the river for normal bathing was so conveniently close. Why need a bath? But the baths were close again to the temple mound. I discovered from my talks with the curators in those times that the weapons were fragile and brittle. Now these features did raise questions in my mind, which I, in my own way, have tried to answer, and I think the answer that I have come to may be wrong, but it is most relevant to our situation in Pakistan today. Apparently, generation after generation of men and buildings, the foundations of Mohenjo-daro as originally laid have not changed, and the buildings that were demolished or fell or decayed were built century after century on the same foundations. Therefore, there was thus a stagnation. And the fact that there was no king, but there were priests who were expropriating the surplus produce of the citizenry of the city and around it, and the areas around it, established to my mind that the priests were ruling and expropriating the surplus to run the city through the dictates of dogma. The fear of their gods, whosoever the gods were, and much has not been deciphered so far about the ancient Indus civilization. So priests, when they rule, society stagnates. I wrote an article on that many years ago, 25 years ago, and called it The Mullahs of Mohenjo-daro. When my book was being published, the Indus Saga, and the first chapter was on Mohenjo-daro because it is an account, a socio-political history written mostly or almost all of it, during my several jail terms under General Ziaul Haq during Ziaul Haq's martial law. When the book was being published, the publishers were a little hesitant, Oxford University Press, about the title Mullahs of Mohenjo-daro. So we had to rename it. I had to find another name, an alliterative name, and we called it the Priests of Prehistory. But whether they be priests or mullahs or orthodoxy or dogma, a civilization ruled by dogma will necessarily come under heaps and mountains of sand and be due to stagnation. That is the lesson I drew from my viewings of Mohenjo-daro. There was one other lesson, and I'll conclude on that. And that lesson was that rivers sire and sustain civilizations. Hence, if a river system, and the map is on your side, if one river system flows and drains out from the north to the west, and another river system drains out from the north to the east, then they will sire and sustain different civilizations. When I wrote this, it wasn't just implied, I wrote it specifically and said it, that Pakistan had existed for 5,000 years or 10,000 years, as long as there has been man living on rivers and near rivers. The Indus was Pakistan for 5, 10, 20,000 years, howsoever long you may go back in time. I was castigated in Pakistan by the orthodoxy. Articles were written by the Tehreek-e-Pakistan people, and they said he is destroying the two-nation theory. He is saying Pakistan pre-existed Islam. But I had tried to pick up the small pieces from prehistory, from Mohenjo-daro to 1947. And why I had to conclude in 1947? That because in jail, in my prison terms, the military government allowed me all manner of books, as many as I wanted, because although a prisoner was allowed 2 books a fortnight, I would distribute K2 cigarettes, and cigarette smoking was not as anathema then as it is now, among several prisoners, and get them to sign forms. So, Siraja, son of Sadiqa, was reading Basham's The Glory That Was India, on forms that I would give to the superintendent of the jail, and my wife would bring the books because she'd be allowed to read. But I started that quest, and I realized that rivers sire and sustain civilizations. Hence, Pakistan along the Indus had always been different from India along the Ganges, or India of the Narbada, the southern plateau. And these were different civilizations. Now, I was criticized in Pakistan for asserting that Pakistan had pre-existed Islam. And I was criticized in India for asserting that Mahabharat had never been Mahabharat, that it had been different units. And this was contesting Vivekananda's theories and the romantic concept given by India's first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, in the discovery of India. But I realized that because we in Pakistan are unsure of our foundations, and we feel that Pakistan is a state cut out surgically in 1947 from a broader, bigger India. Hence, it can also revert to India, or it can disintegrate. But I believe that a country that has a history of 5,000, 10,000 years of pre-Islamic history, with the glorious Guptas, the Ashoks and the Mauryas and the Guptas, the Kushans, the Huns, the Scythians, a continuum of 5 to 10,000 years is a sure, definite, stable state. But in Pakistan, our curriculum was being distorted, and everything was excised from the history of Pakistan. From the history of Pakistan, everything was being excised that preceded the year 711 AD, when Sindh was occupied by Arab troops led by the young, vigorous General Muhammad bin Qasim. As I said, there was controversy here, there was controversy in India, and both of us were moving away from each other because Pakistani curriculum had nothing in it for its students prior to 711. And then India began to saffronize its curriculums also under the last BJP government. And we kept going apart. Here is an opportunity in a seminar like this where we have distinguished brothers and sisters from India, scholars who are going to teach us a lot of wisdom and new perspectives, give us new insights, different insights. Here is that opportunity provided by the Sindh Madressatul Islam and the Vice Chancellor and his very efficient team of supporters to find the true ground and points where we can interface in harmony and love without questioning or challenging the existence of the other. This is the opportunity that must be repeated again and again, must not be lost. And Sindh having taken the lead, and I would also recognize, I like to recognize before I conclude Dr. Masooma Hassan, a great scholar, a teacher who is also present. I've just seen her. But we all are, Punjabis are also, Pathans are, Baloch are, but Sindh is distinct in its inclusiveness. The Sindh of today is a society of migrants. All Sayyids, including my very dear friend and my leader, Sayyid Khurshid Ahmad Shah, all Sayyids migrated from Saudi Arabia to Sindh, although Mirza Kalich Beg has certain cynical, he's a great historian, but a certain cynical estimates about this migration. The Baloch all migrated not just from Balochistan, but from Kurdistan. And more recently, Urdu-speaking citizens of Pakistan migrated from what is India today to Sindh and particularly to Karachi and its big cities, Hyderabad and Sakkar. And Sindh and Sindhis have embraced all who have come to it. All who have come to it. It's an embracing, inclusive society in Sindh. It's the society of the Sufi poet Shah Latif Bhitai, the soft Sufi, as well as the more vigorous, militant, demanding Sufis like Shahbaz Qalandar and Shah Inayat. But it is the soft turf of Sufi Islam that has embraced all comers, that has had a plural society harmoniously living together with the Hindus, Christians, Parsis, and Muslims. You have to take the lead. All I ask you is, Mr. Vice Chancellor, you have taken a great step forward after 4 decades. I hope you will continue to do that. I hope Sindh will continue to lead Pakistan. Punjab has already started, Punjab, Indian Punjab and Pakistani Punjab, friendship and closer ties, I shouldn't say movements, but campaigns. But Sindh is that great land which has embraced everyone that has come to it, irrespective of language, persuasion, and religion. We, all Pakistanis, look up to Sindh and to this seminar and this conference to take the lead. Thank you very much.